He forced me to romance him. It started innocently. Or so I thought. I was a waitress at a small cafe tucked between a flower shop and a bookstore, quiet, unassuming, my favorite kind of place. That's where I first met him. He'd come in every morning, always dressed in sharp suits, always ordering the same thing. Black coffee, 2 sugars, no cream. He never smiled. Not really. At first, I thought he was just shy. Then I thought he was lonely. But when he started waiting outside the cafe after my shifts, always with a bouquet of perfectly bloomed lily, I realized it wasn't just a crush. He said things like, "I know you feel it too. Don't fight it." I didn't. I felt nothing. Still, the notes kept coming. The gifts. The long stares from across the street. I tried to change my shifts. Tried to be polite but distant. But he wouldn't stop. He began calling my workplace. One night, there was a knock on my apartment door. He was standing there, drenched in rain, holding a ring box. "You just don't know it yet," he said, voice low. "But you do love me." I slammed the door. The next day, my manager said I'd been requested to serve a private party. One guest. Him. He rented the entire cafe, candles, music, my favorite songs. And he just waited for me to sit, to give in. I almost did. Because when someone pushes long enough, when they mold their obsession into something that looks like affection, it can confuse you, blur your lines. But I remembered, real love doesn't need to force itself. So I ran, reported him, changed jobs, moved cities. He never found me again. But sometimes, when the coffee is too bitter, I remember the way he said my name, as if I belonged to him. I didn't, and I never will. I never believed love could feel like fear. I worked at a quiet cafe in a mid-sized city, just enough hustle to feel alive, but small enough to disappear into. I liked the routine. Early shifts. The smell of ground coffee and almond pastries. I could coast through the mornings without anyone noticing me. Then he noticed me. His name was Daniel. Tall, put together, too polished for a place like ours. The first time he walked in, I remember thinking he looked like a man on his way to court cold. Determined and unreadable. He ordered black coffee with 2 sugars, didn't look up from his phone, and left within 10 minutes. But he kept coming back. Every day, he started looking at me more. Not in a flirty way, there was no warmth in it. Just a steady, silent gaze. It made me uncomfortable. I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe he was socially awkward. Then the note started. The first was scribbled on a napkin under his coffee cup. "You're too beautiful to be hidden behind an apron." I threw it away. The next day it was a flower. A white lily. My name written on the stem tag. No note this time. That night, I had a strange feeling walking home. You know, the kind that crawls along your skin, whispers to your instincts. I started changing my route, just in case. Still, the gifts escalated. Chocolate truffles I never touched. A leather-bound journal with my name embossed on the front. A scarf in the exact shade of my coat. He'd never asked me anything. Never flirted. Never asked for my number. He just watched, like he was studying me. One night, after closing up, I saw him waiting across the street in the rain, holding an umbrella. No smile, just staring. I turned around and took the back exit. The next day he left a note. "You don't have to be afraid. I already love you. You'll feel it too eventually." I went to my manager Sam and told him everything. Sam offered to talk to Daniel the next time he showed up, maybe ban him. But I didn't want to cause drama. I still didn't get it. Not fully. Then one evening, my shift was changed without my request. When I asked why, Sam said it was a special request. Daniel had rented the cafe for a private dinner. Sad he wanted it to be a surprise. Said I'd be safe. The entire cafe was decorated with candles and soft jazz. A table in the center, white cloth, champagne. The kitchen was empty. He'd asked for privacy. Just me. Just him. He stood when I walked in, holding out a chair. You came, he said softly. I knew you would. I backed out without a word. That night, he showed up at my apartment door. I don't know how he got the address. He was holding a ring box. Inside was a silver band, my name engraved on it. You just don't see it yet, he whispered. But you're already mine. I shut the door and locked it. Called the police the next morning. Filed a report. Changed jobs. Deleted my social media. Moved cities. But it didn't end with the move. Chapter 1. The routine. It started with coffee. Every morning at 7:40 a.m. Daniel entered the cafe with his expensive leather. Shoes clicking against the old tile floor. His order never changed. Black coffee, 2 sugars, no cream. He never stayed longer than 15 minutes. Always sitting in the same seat by the window. His silence made him seem distant, aloof, maybe even interesting. But it was his eyes that unsettled me. He didn't just look at people, he observed them like puzzles. At first, I thought I imagined it. I'd be behind the counter, wiping down cups, and I'd feel that invisible pressure on the side of my face. I'd glance up, and there he was, staring. No smile, no acknowledgement, just looking. Chapter 2. The napkin notes. The first note came on a rainy Tuesday. I found it tucked beneath his empty coffee cup. It was written in clean, careful handwriting. I like watching the way you brush your hair behind your ear when you think no one's watching. It made my stomach twist. It wasn't romantic. It felt invasive. I threw it in the trash. But the next day, there was another. You're too special to waste time behind a counter. That week, he started leaving flowers, always lily. Always one stem. Always white. I stopped making eye contact. I switched shifts. I tried to ignore him. But ignoring someone like Daniel didn't make him go away. Chapter 3. The escalation. He began to learn things about me. He somehow knew I liked old books, even though I'd never told him. One day he left a worn copy of Jane Eyre at the cafe. Inside was a note. You remind me of her. Trapped but still burning inside. Tried to tell myself I was safe. He hadn't touched me. Hadn't said anything threatening. But that's how people like him work. It's slow. Careful. They wrap you in silk threads. So soft you don't notice you're being bound. Until it's too late. Chapter 4. The dinner. Sam, my manager, told me we had a private reservation. The whole cafe. That it had been paid in cash, weeks in advance. He says you'll know him, Sam said, handing me the clipboard with the shift request. My name was scrawled at the bottom. Not typed. Handwritten. When I arrived, the cafe had been transformed. Candles everywhere. Soft music. A table for 2 with wine, covered dishes, and a single white lily in the center. He stood beside the table, smiling for the first time. I knew you'd come. I didn't speak. Couldn't. My throat closed like a fist. He walked toward me slowly. Took my hand without permission. And placed it over his heart. Can't you feel it? This isn't obsession. It's fate. I pulled away. Left without a word. Called the police that night. They told me what I feared. Nothing he did was technically illegal. Hadn't touched me aggressively. They could warn him, but they couldn't stop him. The next morning, the ring box was gone. And in its place, taped to the door, was a note. I'm not going to stop. I know you're scared. Love does that. But you'll thank me. Chapter 6. Vanishing. I quit the cafe. Moved into a friend's spare room 2 towns over. Deleted my social media. Changed my phone number. For weeks I lived in silence. No job, no socializing. I didn't want him to find any trail. I started therapy. Told myself I was safe. That I had done nothing wrong. That some nights I'd wake to find my window open. The curtains swaying. No sign of him. But lily bloomed beneath my window. Always white. Next steps. Would you like me to continue the story into a full novella or novel outline? I can write additional chapters such as Chapter 7. The Return. She rebuilds her life until she sees him again. Years later. Chapter 8. The Fight Back. She begins gathering evidence, building a case. Chapter 9. The Breaking Point. A final confrontation or twist ending. Let me know your preferred direction. Romantic redemption. Psychological horror, thriller, or survival. He watched me fast. There's something sacred about the quiet before dawn. When the streetlights are still humming, and the world hasn't fully woken up. That was my time. I used to find peace in that hour. Unlocking the cafe when the sky was still bruised purple. The air crisp and untouched. Until Daniel started showing up. He never came in with a crowd. Always alone. Always on time. His routine was surgical. Order, sit, drink, leave. His voice was smooth, almost too smooth. Like someone who had rehearsed basic human interaction. He looked like a man who had everything together. Immaculate suits. A silver watch. Pressed collars. Eyes that never blinked when they locked on yours. At first, I chalked it up to curiosity. Customers are like that. They pick a favorite barista, a favorite table. But Daniel wasn't casual. He wasn't curious. He was calculated. I didn't know it then, but I wasn't just being watched. I was being studied. Chapter 2. His kind of love. It started with little things. Too small to feel threatening. The first time I felt it, I was walking home. I turned the corner onto my street. And there it was, a white lily on the hood of my car. No note, no explanation. I thought it was a coincidence. Maybe a neighbor's flower fell. Maybe I was overthinking it. But then it happened again. And again. He never spoke about the flowers. Never acknowledged the notes he left. When I served his coffee, he'd look up and nod politely. Then stare through me like I was glass. But the notes got bolder. You deserve more than burnt coffee and half-smiles from strangers. You're a poem pretending to be a person. If I kissed you, I think time would stop. I never answered. I never smiled. I never encouraged. And still, he came. He told himself I was shy. That I was playing a game. That my silence was another kind of yes. That's the danger of a man like Daniel. He creates a narrative where he always wins. Chapter 3. The trap dressed as romance. Sam, my manager, was kind but distracted. He was the kind of man who trusted customers too easily. So when Daniel offered to rent out the cafe for a private celebration, Sam said yes. Cash up front. Generous tip. He didn't even ask me if I was okay with it. He just thought it was sweet. I'll never forget what I saw when I walked in that night. Candlelight flickered against the windows. Soft classical music floated from an old record player he must have brought himself. The tables were gone, except one in the center. Set for two. A single white lily rested on the plate in front of my seat. He was already sitting, wearing a different suit. His tie slightly loose, like he wanted to appear more casual. More human. "You look beautiful," he said softly, as if we'd been dating for years. I didn't sit. Didn't speak. He stood and came closer. Took my hand. "I've waited long enough, don't you think?" I yanked my hand away and walked out, heart punching against my ribs. The candle scent followed me into the street. Lavender. Vanilla. Like comfort smothering me. Chapter 4. The ring. 3 nights later, There was a knock at my door. It was soft, polite. I looked through the peephole. My throat went dry. He was standing there in the hallway, completely still. His hand cradled a velvet box. His eyes were glassy, not from tears, from certainty. "I know where you hide now," he said calmly. "But don't worry. I'll keep your secrets." I didn't open the door. I didn't scream. I just stood there, breath shallow, while he slid the box under the door. Inside, a silver band with my initials carved in cursive. Not my name. Not "I love you." Just belonging. Like I was a possession to be labeled. Chapter 5. Vanishing. The next morning, I packed what I could carry and left. No goodbyes. No explanations. I stayed with a friend outside the city. Deleted everything. Burned the notes. Threw the ring into a river. But it wasn't over. I started receiving postcards. Not handwritten, typed, printed, impersonal but unmistakable. One showed a picture of the cafe. Another showed a bookstore I used to visit every Thursday. Another was just white with a single word. Soon, I gave them to the police. They told me to stay alert and avoid escalation. But how do you fight a ghost who thinks he's your soulmate? To be continued. I can continue with part 2. The resistance, where she slowly begins reclaiming her life. Or part 2. The collapse, where Daniel escalates to dangerous levels. Would you like her to find a way to confront him, outsmart him, or even twist the story so she takes control in an unexpected way?